Welcome to Craving the Heat, where desire takes the lead and every story leaves you wanting more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest naughty stories. Anna had raised Daniel in the way a devoted family friend might, not as his mother, but as someone who stepped in when his world had fallen apart. She was only 23 when her older sister and brother-in-law died in a car crash, leaving behind their 6-year-old son. At the time, Anna had just finished grad school, had no plans for motherhood, and definitely no idea what it meant to give up her 20s for the sake of someone else. But she did it anyway. Daniel moved in with Anna. Over the years, they became more than guardian and child. They became each other's person. He was a quiet, perceptive boy who read too much and kept to himself. Anna tried to give him everything: stability, honesty, warmth. But she never let herself become mom. She didn't want to erase his real parents. She was just holding space by the time Daniel turned 18. Anna was in her 40s, married to David, a kind but emotionally distant man who preferred routine to risk. The love between them had long turned cold, safe, predictable, but lifeless. Daniel left for college and eventually moved abroad. Life resumed. Anna stayed. Married, she stopped painting, stopped laughing, stopped asking herself what she wanted. Then, years later, Daniel returned. He was 27 now, confident, thoughtful, and possibly observant. He hadn't changed completely, but he carried himself like a man who had lived. And Anna, now 44, suddenly found herself seeing him not just as the boy she raised, but as someone who understood her in ways her own husband never had. It began innocently enough. Daniel needed a place to stay while looking for work. David didn't mind. He liked Daniel, even admired him. Their home became brighter with Daniel in it. His stories, his music, his energy. Anna started cooking again, laughing again, talking. Late into the night, long after David had gone to bed, she told herself it was just nostalgia, a bond between two people who had history. But something unspoken began to pulse beneath the surface. One night, as they washed dishes side by side, their hands brushed and didn't move away. The air between them shifted. Daniel looked at her. "You don't look happy," he said. Gently, she wanted to lie, to protect her marriage, to protect him, but she couldn't. "I'm not," she admitted. "I haven't been for a long time." Daniel said nothing, but his silence was full of something thick, understanding maybe, or grief. The next day, Anna tried to pull away. She kept her distance, busied herself with errands, avoided eye contact. But the truth had already changed. Something in both of them. Then came this stormy evening. David had gone out of town for a conference. The wind howled against the windows. Anna had poured herself a glass of wine and curled up with a book, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. Daniel walked in quietly, a blanket draped over his shoulders. They talked about his childhood, about her regrets, about the years they both lost pretending they were fine. "I used to wish you were my mother," Daniel confessed. "But I never saw you that way." Anna's breath caught. "I saw you as someone who saved me," he said, "and I hated how you gave everything up, including yourself." She looked at him, eyes full. "I did what I had to do." "I know," he said. "But what do you want now?" The question cracked something open. She didn't answer with words. She kissed him. The world spun for a moment. Then she pulled away, guilt flooding her. "We can't." But he didn't push. He nodded and quietly left the room. The next few days were chaos inside her. Daniel respected her space, and Anna tried to ignore the war between her heart and her conscience. But she couldn't. What happened between them hadn't been lust. It had been something deeper, recognition. She finally told David the truth, not about the kiss, but about the emptiness, about the parts of herself she had buried. David didn't fight. He just said, "I always knew you weren't happy. I just thought you'd stay anyway." Anna left. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy. People whispered. Her family was confused. But for the first time in decades, she began to breathe. Daniel didn't chase her. He let her go through the fire. Only when she was ready did they speak again. Their first dinner alone was quiet, no pressure. Just two people trying to see each other clearly. He looked at her and said, "I never wanted to ruin your life." "You didn't," she replied. "You reminded me I still had one." In time, their connection deepened, not in scandal, but in tenderness. They were honest about the complexity, about the past, about the pain. It wasn't about lust. It was about finally being seen. And in that truth, Anna found herself again, not the girl who sacrificed everything, but the woman who dared to live, even when it broke the rules. Claire hadn't felt beautiful in years, not unloved. Jason was still kind to her. They shared morning coffee, paid bills on time, and made grocery lists together on Sundays. But somewhere between raising two children and the weight of normalcy, their marriage had turned into a partnership of responsibilities rather than passions. She sometimes looked at him across the dinner table and wondered, when did we stop being in love and start being just enough? Then there was Aaron. He was younger by 7 years. A new hire in the nonprofit Claire worked at, all energy and laughter and easy conversation. He reminded her of herself when she was in her 20s, when she believed in risk and sudden joy in being seen. The first time they really spoke, it was over a broken copy machine. "I don't know how to fix this thing," Aaron said, tapping it like that might help. "You threaten it a little." "That usually does the trick," Claire said with a dry smile. He laughed, not politely, but fully. "You're funny." Claire had almost forgotten what it felt like to be flirted with. At first, it was innocent. Lunchtime conversations. And occasional text about work. But slowly, the space between those texts grew smaller. "The subject's less professional. You look distracted today." He messaged once. "Just tired," she wrote back. "I keep thinking about your smile." Her hands trembled as she typed a reply, then deleted it. Then typed again. "Careful," she finally sent. "I know," he replied. And still the next day, he brought her coffee exactly the way she liked it. She knew it was wrong. Knew she was towing a line she swore she never would. But the way Aaron looked at her, like she was still worth noticing, made her feel like a woman again, not just a mother or a wife or an employee. The affair didn't happen suddenly. It built like a slow storm. A rainy afternoon when their hands touched as they reached for the same folder. A late night when they stayed behind to finish a grant proposal, and Claire caught herself staring at the way his mouth moved when he spoke. A quiet Saturday when she said she was going to a work thing, and met him instead at a small cafe on the other side of town. The first kiss happened in his car. It was awkward, hesitant, but it burned in her memory for days afterward. She could still feel the softness of his lips, the way he exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. And after that, there was no turning back. They never said the word love. That felt too dangerous, but it was more than lust. Aaron asked her questions Jason hadn't asked in years. He noticed her sketches, the way she hummed absent-mindedly, the small scar above her eyebrow from when she was a child, but the guilt came too. It crept into her sleep. It made her flinch when Jason touched her. It made her lie to her children about where she was going. One night, after putting the kids to bed, Claire sat on the bathroom floor and cried until her ribs ached. She didn't know what she wanted. To stay, to leave, to confess, to forget. But what haunted her most wasn't just the betrayal, it was how alive she felt in Aaron's arms. Eventually, Jason noticed. He wasn't oblivious, just trusting. "You've been somewhere else lately," he said one evening. Claire wanted to scream, to tell the truth, to beg forgiveness. But all she said was, "I'm just tired." He reached for her hand and she didn't pull away. "Maybe we should go away," he offered. "Just the two of us," she nodded. Not because she wanted to fix everything, but because she needed to remember what they used to be. That weekend, they drove to the mountains. It was cold and quiet. They drank wine by the fire, made awkward small talk, then sat in silence. Finally, Claire said it. "I've been seeing someone." Jason didn't react immediately. His eyes stayed on the fire. "Is it serious?" She hesitated. "It was never meant to be." He nodded once. "Do you love him?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I think I love who I was with him, who I stopped being here." Jason was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I think we both stopped being ourselves a long time ago." They didn't fight. There were no dramatic accusations or slammed doors, just quiet pain. Deep, aching honesty in the days that followed. Claire ended it with Aaron, not because she stopped feeling, but because she had to choose who she wanted to become. She couldn't keep breaking herself in two. It wasn't easy. Some nights, she still dreamed of Aaron, of the way he held her like he was afraid she might vanish. But she also remembered Jason's hand on hers at their wedding, the way he cried when their daughter was born. The quiet, enduring love that hadn't vanished, just faded. Claire didn't expect forgiveness to come quickly, but they talked, went to therapy, started over in small ways, and slowly love returned. Not the love they had at 25, but something more weathered. More real. One night, months later, Jason looked at her across the kitchen table. His eyes soft. "I'm still here," he said. And this time, Claire believed him. Claire didn't touch Aaron again after that last goodbye. There were no dramatic farewell kisses, no broken promises whispered in the dark. Just a final message. "I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry." And silence. Some nights she'd scroll back through their messages, her heart aching with nostalgia and shame. She never deleted them, not out of cruelty to herself, but because she wanted to remember what she was capable of. Both the destruction and the beauty. Jason never demanded explanations. He didn't rage or throw her betrayal in her face. But he withdrew, quietly, subtly, the way a man does when he's afraid that if he speaks, the pain will break him open. He started sleeping on the guest room couch, not permanently, just often enough for Claire to feel the cold absence of him beside her. The children noticed the tension. Their daughter, Amelia, asked why Daddy wasn't brushing her hair at night anymore. Their son, Leo, refused to eat broccoli unless Jason made a joke out of it, and now dinner was too quiet. Claire tried. She cooked more, stayed home more, turned her phone off, sat through therapy sessions that made her feel both cleansed and raw, but Jason stayed guarded. He smiled politely, sighed, "Thank you," when she poured his coffee, but his eyes wouldn't linger and his body never leaned into hers until one night when she found him in the garage, sitting on the floor, staring at an old photo of their honeymoon. She hadn't seen him cry since his mother died. "I'm not mad at you anymore," he said quietly, voice hoarse. "I'm just scared." "Of what?" she whispered, sinking down beside him. "Of giving you my heart again and watching you walk away with it." Claire reached for his hand, tentative. "I don't want to be that woman again," she said. "I want to come back to us." Jason let the silence stretch long before speaking. "Then stop waiting for me to believe it." "Show me." So she did, not all at once, but in small, daily acts of faith. She relearned the songs he loved, brought back the Sunday morning pancakes, asked about his day, and actually listened. Reached for his hand first, initiated touch. Not for sex, just to remind him she still wanted to feel him. To remember, and Jason, over time, let her in again. It wasn't linear. Some nights they argued. Some nights they made love and then cried, overwhelmed by the enormity of what they were rebuilding. One afternoon, Claire walked into their bedroom and found a wrapped canvas on the bed. When she opened it, it was a painting, her painting. One she had done years ago and abandoned in the attic. Jason had it framed. "I miss her," he said behind her. "The version of you who painted this. I think she's still in there." Claire burst into tears. And in that moment, something broke. Not in pain, but in healing. The kind of break that lets light in, Months later, on a cool October evening, they took a trip together, just the two of them. No kids, no distractions. A cozy cabin by the lake they hadn't visited since they were engaged. They made dinner together, played music, danced in the kitchen, barefoot, laughing like they used to. And that night, when they made love, it wasn't out of duty or routine. It was tender, slow, full of rediscovery. Jason traced her spine with reverence. Claire kissed his chest like she was apologizing. They didn't speak, but everything was said afterward. Wrapped in a tangle of sheets and forgiveness, Jason whispered, "I see you again." Claire closed her eyes, tears slipping down. "I never stopped loving you," she said, and for the first time in years, she believed they were going to be okay. Claire hadn't known what to expect after the confession. She thought Jason might leave. She feared he might turn cold, distant, withdrawn, but instead, he showed up, not just physically, not just by staying, but emotionally. Deeply, with effort she hadn't seen from him in years. He began asking questions about her art, about what she wanted from life, not just from their marriage. He started waking early just to make her coffee the way Aaron once had, but with a quiet steadiness that was uniquely Jason. He didn't smother her with guilt or demand penance. He listened. He sat with the pain instead of running from it. Claire was the one who struggled more in those early days. She still wrestled with guilt, with grief for the version of herself that bloomed briefly in the light of someone else's attention. But she started to notice something else. Jason was not the same man she had felt distant from. He was trying to change. And not because she begged, but because he wanted her to see him again. One night, a few weeks after therapy had begun, their weekly ritual, he surprised her. He'd booked a tiny cabin by the lake, just the two of them. She was hesitant at first. It felt like trying too hard to recreate something they'd lost, but Jason wasn't chasing nostalgia. He was inviting something new. They arrived just before sunset. The lake was still, the sky painted with soft oranges and deep purples. Claire stood on the porch, hugging her sweater to her body, when Jason came up behind her and quietly slid his arms around her waist. "Used to draw sunsets like this," he said. She smiled, surprised. "You remember that?" "I remember everything." "You stopped doing," he said gently, "and I want you to do them again." Tears welled in her eyes. That night, over simple pasta and wine, they sat across from each other and talked like they hadn't in years. There were no accusations, no defensiveness, just honesty. "I know I wasn't paying attention," Jason admitted. "I thought being present physically was enough, but I didn't see you, not really. I didn't ask what you needed. That's on me." Claire shook her head, her voice quiet. "I stopped asking too. I gave up on being seen." He reached across the table and took her hand. "Let's not give up." Later that night, when they made love, really made love, it wasn't urgent or desperate. It was slow, reverent, full of years they had both nearly lost. Claire cried when he kissed her shoulders, when he whispered how beautiful she was, when he touched her like she was new and familiar all at once. There was no performance in it. No fantasy. Just love, aching, fragile, real. And in the days and months that followed, they kept building. Claire returned to sketching, and then to painting. Jason set up a small studio space in the spare room. Without her asking, they started dancing in the kitchen again. Not every day was easy. Healing was a process, not a destination. But they laughed more, held hands in public again, went on walks just to watch the trees change. Sometimes their daughter would ask why they were acting like teenagers again, and Claire would just smile, because they had almost lost each other, because love, when chosen again, after betrayal, after silence, after years of fading, burns brighter than it did the first time. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace at home, Claire rested her head on Jason's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for staying." Jason kissed her temple and said, "Thank you for letting me try." Outside, the world carried on, busy, imperfect, full of noise. But inside their homes, something had been reborn. A quiet promise. A rediscovery. Not the naive love of youth, but the kind of love that grows back even after winter. The kind that stays.